Okay. Hello, Ned.
Hello.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to KordKutters episode 26. All four of you, especially RD1979, who was so kind to remind me that the video game awards are today. Oh, I'm going to need to probably mute everything.
It's probably just him because I'm watching. I've got the page loaded too, so I'm probably a viewer,
Oh, good point.
and
So,
you're
Ned
probably a
and
viewer.
RD, good job, guys. One of them might be me, too.
It's like what I always go through, and I always like our videos after they get posted.
Okay. All right. Well, let's get rolling because there's lots to talk about, and I guess lots of time. There's nothing really keeping me from doing anything, but let's get rolling anyway. So this week we're going to talk about the Raspberry Pi Zero, which I have in my hand. Um, Ned, you're going to talk about your gaming stuff.
Yeah.
And what else? We just talked about it all. Oh, we're going to talk about Kodi in VR, which is a lot less cool than it sounds. And let's see. And what you're seeing in the background right now. This nice, beautiful little Kodi Fire Christmas situation, which is actually a
Yeah.
screensaver. Um. So where to start? Where to start? There's a lot to cover. I don't know, Ned. Is there anything in particular you want to start with? Should we start
Um.
with the pie or your
Sure.
gaming thing?
Well, we could start with the pie and lead into it because that kind of the Pi Zero is like the entry point now. It's revitalized all the different people who wanted to jam it into a Game Boy and into all sorts of things. It's so much easier now to do it with that.
That's really true. That
Yeah,
was
I
the
almost feel like they say it's for education, but I kind of feel like the Pi Zero is a wink to all those guys.
yeah,
They're like, we know you.
absolutely.
Yeah.
It's God. Yeah, I guess maybe it's for education. Maybe. That was like the very first thing I sent to you. The Pi Zero came out, all the news hit, and the very first thing I sent to you was that guy who had jammed a Pi Zero into his old Xbox controller, and I was
And
like,
to the controller, yes,
yeah,
that's awesome.
I was like, well, this has to happen,
Uh huh.
or no, I said retro player can't come soon enough.
Uh huh.
Um,
Yeah.
all right, so okay, so this is the Pi Zero. And for those of you who are watching, if you haven't already seen the review that I did of it, you should check that out first because it's pretty cool. Um, or maybe check it out after this. But it's a pretty cool thing. Oh, and also welcome, Julian. Congratulations on your first live thing. No network interface is a good point. We'll talk about that. And actually, I talked about that in the review. But here's the thing I want to talk about today. Mostly, I want to talk about the history of this thing, or at least my history with this thing. Um, Ned noticed this right off the bat, and a lot of you brilliant commenters out there also noticed it. On my Pi over on this side over here, the side opposite of the SD card, I don't have some of the connectors that everybody else apparently has. Do you remember? Do you have any idea what those connectors are, Ned?
I know one of them is the composite video, I think.
Yeah, composite video, and I think one's an audio, unless they're both.
Um,
That's all the same thing.
well, no, there's no onboard audio on the Raspberry Pi Zero. It's possible to get audio though. Like
Oh,
it's
okay.
like it's weird.
Yeah. So I don't have that. And the reason I don't have that is because if you look on the back side of this thing, I don't know if that's very visible. Here, I'm going to switch it over to me. Uh, yeah, on the back side, you can see maybe just barely. I'm using version 1.0, and evidently this thing was baked in August. Uh, and the reason it's so old compared to all the ones that are coming out right now is because I got it a long time ago. Um, it was one of those things that we didn't talk about, but a lot of times after DevCon, I like to stop, in some European place because it's a fun thing to do. Ned, I think, hung around Prague for an extra day.
Yeah.
I went to London. Basically, the goal is to go to as many places as you can without actually spending any more foundation money. Mine
Uh-huh.
was essentially just a really ridiculously long layover. Um, but so I went over to London and I emailed the Raspberry Pi guys and I was like, hey, I'm going to be in England. Do you guys want to hang out or anything? And they were like, yeah, come on over. We're up in Cambridge. So, so I got to London. I went to King's Cross Station. I found platform 9 3/4, which was very exciting. Did you know it's actually there, Ned?
The
That's
no,
right. You can
like
literally
the
walk through a brick wall. No, I'm kidding. Um, yeah, but there is like a cool little Harry Potter store right there, and I bought some embarrassing merchandise to be sure. But I went to King's Cross Station, bought some Harry Potter stuff, went to Cambridge. I think it's Cambridge. That's where all the university stuff is, I think. I don't think it was Oxford. Pretty sure it was Cambridge, which is where their main office is. Uh, spent an hour trying to get from the train station to them because the buses don't take London's Oyster card or whatever. And I didn't have any cash, and there were no ATMs at the train station, and it was a real, oh my god, that was a hassle. But I found an ATM like a mile away or 2 kilometers away. Got in a cab, went to their building, and had mostly what I was expecting to be just a nice chat. Like just to talk about all the cool things we were doing. I told them about your Raspberry 2 efforts and how you essentially cut it in half just so it could fit
uh-huh.
into the gaming thing. And Eben, who's the CEO of the whole thing, he started laughing and he said, hey, I'll be right back. He said, I'll be right back. So I talked to Dom, who's one of the Kodi developers, and one of the guys who works on the Slice. Which, have we talked about the Slice on here before?
A little bit.
A little bit. The Slice
Yeah.
is it's cool. It's a Raspberry Pi device based around their
Compute module.
their compute module, which is essentially just the CPU. Like the
Uh-huh.
CPU slips into like a little semi motherboard, basically.
Yeah.
But so Eben walks away and he comes back and he gives me this little thing, and I'm like, what the hell is this? It was even more ridiculous than that. That little white OTG cable, is that what they're called?
Yeah.
He gave me it with that plugged in, and I looked at it like, what the hell am I looking at? And he explained it, and he was like, this probably won't matter very much for Kodi, because it kind of sucks for Kodi. But this is the next Raspberry Pi. And he walked through it. At this point, if you aren't aware of what the Pi Zero is, then whatever. I can't
Yeah.
help you. Read
It's been
some
all
stuff
over the
elsewhere.
news.
Yeah. But it was essentially the Pi A plus or whatever, but in a very small body.
Yeah.
And that was and so it was cool, but I didn't expect it to be very interesting. He told me that it was going to be $5, which was cool,
Mhm.
but I thought it was going to be cool for other things. Like I was expecting this to be more like an Arduino kind of thing,
Yeah.
where it's more about controlling robots or something, not about running code.
Yeah.
Um, and it wasn't until fairly recently, like a week or two ago, maybe, that I actually plugged it in and started playing around with it, and it was just like, wow,
Oh, here it is.
I really didn't think it was going to be a very good experience, but it really wasn't. It wasn't terrible at all. It was. I mean, if
Mhm.
you watch the video, the menus navigate fine. Once you scan in the library, it doesn't take that long for an ARM device.
Yeah.
And then all that pulls up fine. I was blown away, really, honestly.
Yeah. Well, like a lot of people were always knocked like the original Pi for Kodi usage, and it was yeah, by default it was pretty sluggish, but you could overclock it. And the Pi Zero has a higher default clock. The quality of the chips are, I guess, a lot better. I was reading, and so they can safely clock it at a full gigahertz, So even if you don't change anything, it's already overclocked essentially, but it's a stable. So it's not
Right.
really overclocking. It's just now the new default.
Yeah, the
Um,
original was like 700, and this is a
yeah,
gig, I think,
yeah,
which
yeah.
is
Like I finally found it. I lost it for a moment here, but this is what I did to a perfectly good Raspberry Pi 2. Um, it's like I didn't even like desolder things. I just ripped it off
yeah,
and cut part of the PCB, and like people do that all the time to get the Pi to fit into things, and just having a Pi like without things soldered to it would, the different ports, would obviously be a boon to some people. So this Pi Zero is, oh, it's so awesome.
yeah, it's pretty cool. Um, so all right, so Julian and Artie, you're both talking about the thing about this pie, and frankly, the thing about all these pies is that there are a bunch of things sort of missing from the base configuration. Obviously, there's no network interface. There's no Wi-Fi or VLAN if you're European, and that means that out of the box, it's pretty kind of useless. Like unless you start doing things to it, it doesn't do much.
Uh-huh.
But I don't really consider that a negative.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah. Like we were talking about it a little bit before.
yep,
Like people are always like, ah, you gotta buy an adapter. You gotta do this. Like first thing, the only like real adapter you need is from micro to normal HDMI or mini. I forget what it is. It's either mini or micro.
it's
Um,
micro.
but you can buy
Oh
like you
wait,
can
the
buy that as a
HDMI is mini.
cable.
Yeah,
Yeah, but you can buy that as like a cable, like without the adapter, and it's about like either cable is about the same price. So you're already gonna have an HDMI cable in your little budget. And then you need your SD card. You can get it like 128 gigabyte SD card that'll work on Pis. You could load it up with videos, and then use CEC over HDMI to control it, and then just plug it in to like a USB service port on your TV, because the Pi Zero requires very little power.
yep.
And
Oh,
there you
very
go.
little amps, by the way. I said volts on the video. I was very kindly corrected by a very nice individual. There was certainly nothing mean about their correction to me.
Oh, I must have missed this. There is
Uh,
actually some voltage tolerance apparently, at least on the B plus and the Pi 2, where it can actually take like if you're running it off of a battery. I don't know about the Pi Zero, but apparently it does actually have some voltage tolerance where it can take 4 volts and still run.
yeah,
So technically, you weren't wrong.
I'll take that. Um, but yeah, so low amperage requirements means that you can just plug it into your TV. Um,
Yeah.
and that's so the uses for this thing. I mean, you can use it actually as a regular Kodi box. You can
Yeah.
plug it into an OTG cable and then plug it into a big old USB hub like the one I was showing off. This guy right here.
Mhm.
But you don't necessarily need to. What really all you need is a power source, and then some means of connecting and controlling over HDMI, and
Mhm.
then you can do just about anything you want. Or
You
you
can
can have
even Yeah, you can even solder on like three wires. You can
yep,
solder on an infrared port.
yep. You could solder on an infrared port. You could can you solder can the way you're controlling your little gaming Raspberry Pi, are the buttons connected to the
So
solder on ports, the ports here,
yeah,
or
the
are they
GPIO.
USB? Yeah, the GPIO.
Um, right now, I'm planning on GPIO, and like this is the little Xbox chat pad that I'm going to use. It's a little messed up right now, but it's got 4 wires that come out from it, and those 4 wires solder into the GPIO, and you can use the full keyboard here. Um, and there's various little things out there. You can even wire up a direct switch. You should put a resistor in there for protection. Um, but it's probably be fine, especially on a $5 pie. It's almost
Sure.
like you could literally short out a couple of a certain GPIO and make a quick switch or something there. Um, so yeah, like I'm sure I've got somewhere around here. I've got a little it's a little looks like a tiny little joystick, and it's got you go up, down, left, right, and then you press in the middle, and it selects, and it's real small. And I bet you someone is going to figure out how to make that just fit right on the GPIO. Just whoop, and then you have a little nub, and you could that's enough buttons to control a lot of stuff, Kodi or a little information screen or a lot of stuff.
Yeah, that's right. So, if you need Wi-Fi, once again, this is a lot of work. But the amount of things you can do with this, if you're a tinkerer, are just ridiculous. It's just outstanding what you could theoretically do with something like this. You can, like we were already talking about, plug it into an original Xbox controller and just make that your gaming PC
Yeah,
or retro gaming PC. It's not going to do anything modern.
yeah. And even if you do add dongles, um, uh, like it's still going to be slimmer than a normal Pi.
Yeah.
Like you get a little. This is technically it's not a Wi-Fi, but it's the same idea. A little USB dongle there, and they've got an adapter that actually slips right into the USB and just pops out a little micro connector. In fact, let me see if I can pull that up here, and I'll send you the link. But yeah, the total area though is really small, and you can fit it into like all sorts of things.
What? And so, what is that? What is that good for? What does that do?
Well, like it'll let you connect it's a tiny little adapter.
Mm-hmm.
Why is Amazon loading so slowly?
It looks like your internet is also slowing down. We're getting you down to a couple frames a second at this point.
Oh no.
Your audio is fine though. Well, it doesn't really matter. The point is, this thing can theoretically be pretty cool in the future. Oh, JPX dude, thank you and welcome to the stream. He says greetings from London. Yes, I was just there. It's fantastic. So I was in London, and then the very next week I was in, or maybe 2 weeks later, I was in New York because I was giving that talk at Columbia for Software Freedom Legal Center.
Yeah.
And I have to say, in my mind, the big difference between London and New York is in London, the subway doesn't smell like urine, which I think is it's pretty good. That's a good difference.
It's always a plus.
Yeah. That's a major difference. Also, I think people in London might be more attractive than people in New York. I don't want to be too,
Europe seems a little more fit.
They might be a little bit more fit. It's hard to say because New York is a very active city because everybody walks everywhere because driving sucks. But yeah, you might be right. Oh man, there are people from all over the place on the stream today. We got Costa Rica, also Ben. Sorry for not saying hi earlier. That's Norway, France. Man, this is a good stream today. So I don't want to spend too much more time on the Pi Zero, just because we have other things I want to talk about.
Yeah.
It seems like there was one other thing to chat about though. Gaming we covered. Oh, the other thing. So it's missing a lot of stuff right now, but my guess is that because it's so small and because it's missing really, really key things like a regular USB in port, my guess is that people are going to start coming out with cases that take care of those problems.
Yeah, like a little daughter board type thing, kind of.
Yeah, absolutely. That's my guess. The adapter. Sorry, I'm responding to somebody on the stream who wants to know if I found the USB adapter. No, it's around here somewhere. It's I have like a lot of cords. I don't really I don't want to have to sift through them all just to show that off. You've seen the video, you know what it looks like. And if you haven't seen the video, you should watch it, and then you'll know what it looks like.
Here we go. Oh, no, it does not let me. That's funny. Google does not let me post URLs into the chat.
Oh. Oh well. Okay, so
but if you copy paste that, if you're watching the chat, you can copy paste that URL, and that's a picture of the little adapter. It's a tiny ass little adapter.
Let me pop it up here. Oops. Me, you, and Kodi. There it is. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, that just slips inside of the full size A connector.
So,
and there you go, bam.
So you don't even need one of those, like the full OTG adapter. It just does. I mean, it is one, but it's like it doesn't look like one at all.
Uh-huh.
That's really cool. That's a cool idea.
And it's the same thing as, like we've talked about before, the Nexus player. If you don't want to use Wi-Fi in the Nexus player and you need to add stuff to it, it's the same idea. It's got a micro USB connector that's on the go that you can connect to and port out. So whether you have a Zero or whether you have some other Android device, it's you have options.
Yep.
They're cheap too. That's like 50 cents off of some Chinese website or eBay.
Speaking of that, so flipping over just a little bit, not too much. Do you want to show off your gaming stuff at this point?
Yeah, I guess so. I really don't have anything really put together because I kept breaking screens and trying different things. And until I get to the point where like I can fit it all in the case, it's hard to like really get any progress on it because it's like it all has to fit inside and close. And at one point I had the screen in there and it closed, and then I broke the screen. It's a little guy that's you can actually get them from, if you don't mind waiting, about $30 you can get this is what the original product looks like connected to a Pi. It's an HDMI connected 5-inch LCD screen. It's about $30, and it's even got a little connector on the back for touch input. It works. I had to take it apart. It's got a little board on it because like every little millimeter or whatever is crucial to fitting it into the Game Boy case that I have here, which I have. You can see has just been shaved and gouged in every little spot that I can get to. But I keep meaning to. I need to put everything as little steps of this project in little videos and just talk individually about the different components, like the screen and stuff. Because hopefully
you need to put them all into one big video and upload it, and it will be the most watched video we ever made.
Exactly. And it's all kind of like various little things I've pulled off of other people's projects. Like someone told me about this is a little tiny audio amplifier that has little connections for power, then left speaker, right speaker, and it amplifies the audio. And just all sorts of, I got my little charging circuit here for the battery. I should just go through all those sometime. And because eventually all these little chips in here have to fit inside this along with the Pi 2, and then it actually has to shut.
Yeah.
And that's surprisingly hard, especially when you break the screen and you have to wait a month for the replacement.
So how close are you at this point to getting it going?
Well, like it's functional, like everything kind of works on it. I haven't really wired up the buttons yet, but I've already done that on the other Game Boy, the little SP. So it's pretty much the same idea. It's just like the real challenge of it is just fitting it into the case and making it look good. Because like I don't know if I showed the Game Boy on here, I probably did, but it had like some components sticking out of the top lid, because they were just not quite thin enough, and I'm trying to avoid all that. Because that's how you make it impressive is if you can figure out how to actually make it look good, without using like, you know, an easy thing like a 3D printer to make your own enclosure or whatever. It's that challenge of fitting it into something really small. And there's an irony in it too, like where like an actual Nintendo DS would probably be like, you can get emulators for one, like an actual working one, and just put emulators on there. So it's like a lot of work for something that's not quite as powerful as the original.
Yeah.
But there's you know, there's some flexibility you got there, and there's a challenge, and just I have no idea if it'll.
Yeah, it seems more fun also.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. There was a point where I realized that I actually had, because I got an Amazon phone when I renewed I got like a Prime. I was going to renew Prime for the shipping, and Amazon was selling their phone with a free year of Prime for $120. Well, Prime was normally $100, so I got the phone for $20. Yeah. And this phone here is like as thin as the top case of the DS, and it's a higher resolution screen, a faster processor, more memory. So I could literally just glue this onto like the controls, you know, but it wouldn't be as fun, you know, like it's not as challenging.
I didn't really think of that, but that's pretty funny.
Because I mean, if you think about it, it's like, oh, geez, I'm doing all this stuff, and it's, you know, like this is already made, but you know, it's already made because, you know, a company made it in bulk, and
yeah.
So I'm sure I probably spent more than I want to think about on all the, because, you know, you try different things and you buy different things, but there's a challenge to it.
Yes,
it's kind of like Kodi. That's the same thing with like old HTPC building. You know, like where you'd buy different parts for your HTPC and you know, try to wire up a little LCD panel or something. It was kind of the same idea. It wasn't really about the finished product. It was about putting it together.
Speaking of which, let's flip over to a totally different subject. Right before the stream, you were telling me for the first time ever you put Kodi up on Google Cardboard.
Yeah, I've got you got it on the screen there. Like they have the cardboard kits. You probably can hear the dogs barking on my microphone.
A little bit. I think that just adds a nice
to the ambience.
Color. Yeah. The ambience.
Well, they've got the cardboard version of the Google Cardboard, and if you don't know what that is, it's basically a little holder for your phone with two lenses, so that you can see it up close to your face. And see the screen correctly, and then an application.
When I was first trying out the whole idea of VR, one of the things I used to do ridiculously is I would just take my tablet, and at the time they were recording both eyes in VR on YouTube, and so I'd just take the tablet and put the tablet up to my face as close as I could, and it sort of worked. Like,
yeah.
What those goggles do is they adjust so that horrible blurriness, if you do that, goes away. But if you're willing to deal with the blurriness, you can still get that kind of cool 3D effect.
Yeah, across your eyes or something.
Well. But yeah, so you have Google Cardboard set up, and I've actually done this in a different way. But what you can do is you put Kodi on your phone. You hook it into your Google Cardboard case, just like that.
I got the plastic version here. It normally comes actually as cardboard, but this was pretty cheap. But yeah, you put your phone in there,
and then you just launch Kodi and switch to 3D, right?
Yeah. Well, you go into the interface settings and you know enable side-by-side 3D for the interface, not just for movies, but for actually going through the interface, because. One of the features I think is new to version 16 is depth for skins. So like when you open the context menu is hovering above the rest of the menus and all sorts of cool things like that.
Yep.
So the whole thing is side by side, for one eye for each, or one screen split for each lens and each eye, and you get a poor man's 3D home entertainment center. And obviously, it works with the movies as well. Same idea.
Yeah.
Left, right for
The
each eye.
the downside, and I don't. You were telling me about this, but I'm not sure if I totally got it. So, obviously, what happens is when you do this, you're essentially just getting a giant screen in your face. Oh
Yeah,
wait, let me switch to me, you, and other. You're getting a giant screen in your face, and the screen moves with you. So is it? Can you see all the corners of the interface? Can you see like all the, like? Oh, let me flip over to Kodi here.
yeah. Like I had to calibrate the screen so I could see the very bottom row of playback buttons. Like it was just slightly out of view. Um, but like just using Cody's settings, I could calibrate the screen settings that way.
So like you went over to system and then, where is that? System again and
Yeah,
video calibration, and you just use
yeah,
this thing.
yeah.
Oh, that's pretty cool. That's a smart way to do it,
Which
and it
surprisingly
worked.
works flawlessly even in the 3D mode. Like you would think that would be kind of a weird combination, but it just it handles it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Flipping over to answering questions. Julian, I don't know how to pronounce your name. Um, Depth does work for all skins in 16, but that doesn't necessarily mean skins have enabled it.
Yeah.
You have to you have to what you do is each skin, every part of a skin is an element or a window, and you have to tell that element what Z depth you want to give it, and then once the Z depth has been inputted, it works. At the moment, the only skin I know of that this actually has taken advantage of this is Confluence. I don't know if any others have or haven't. You'd have to ask in the forum for that particular skin. But it works totally well in Confluence.
Yeah. So kind of in the same theme of Google Cardboard, where it's kind of an inexpensive way to check something out. You can do the same thing for 3D movies and Cody's interface. So
Yeah.
if you don't want to plunker down for a 3D TV, because it's neat, but it's like me personally, I want to, like I'm not the kind of person that feels like I have to have a 3D TV or anything. But it's really cool to play around with.
Yeah.
It's
And I actually have a 3D TV and I use it fairly frequently because I'm that guy. But when I'm testing things in Kodi, I don't usually use that TV because it's, the TV where Kodi is just regular Kodi. I don't
Yeah.
install betas on it. So when I'm testing it out, I actually have an Oculus Rift, and there's a software called Virtual Desktop, which I flipped over. It's vrdesktop.net, and what it does is it takes your it works in Windows. I don't know if it works in any other OS. But it takes your Windows monitor, and it puts it in like a little 3D plane, and then it surrounds it with like stars or something. I don't know, it doesn't really matter. But it puts it in a 3D plane, and then what I do is I launch Kodi, make it full screen, and then at least with VR Desktop, all you have to do is hit F7, and it switches over to that 3D mode, and that's how I get the same effect. And it works really well.
Yeah.
And it
Kind
looks,
of that virtual movie theater stuff someone was showing off too with the Rift. Kind of the same idea,
yep,
where
absolutely
it's
the
like
same idea.
you're there and you can kind of look around and
Yeah, that's the one downside to doing it with Cardboard, Google Cardboard, is that the screen stays with you when you're moving your head around. With VR Desktop, the screen is like in a virtual space, so when you move your head around, the screen stays where it is. So you just look at it a little, and it's sort of over here.
uh, in theory it could do it if that software supported Google Cardboard, because it does. Like other Google Cardboard apps use the accelerometer
Yep.
and that you look around. But
So we just need somebody out there who really likes VR to make Kodi support Google Cardboard.
yeah,
And basically all those other VR things, because I imagine doing it is pretty easy. Like It's pretty much the same in all the different environments.
Yeah.
That's just a guess, though. Okay, so we have one last kind of section to talk about, and I think that'll bring us to the end today, which is good because we're already at almost 40 minutes.
Oh.
And that section is the holidays. Happy
Ah.
Christmas and Merry New Year to you, Ned. And Hanukkah
Joyous,
and all that
joyous
other stuff.
Kwanzaa.
Thank you. so we were
And it
talking
was,
once again before this about what's kind of a cool Christmassy thing to do with Kodi, and this popped up. So if you're using just standard Kodi, you can get this from your screensaver section. So if you start at the home screen, you go to System, Appearance, Screensaver mode, and I've already got it set up. But if you don't have it there, then you can click Get More, and that lists all of the screensavers that we currently have available.
Yeah. And this is video screensaver from Rob Webset, I think is his name.
Maybe.
It's all like one word, so I'm not sure where one name, like if it's two names or it's just like all his screen name. Rob Webset.
Yeah,
but it looks like Rob
thing is
Webset.
it's called Video Screensaver, and we don't have any other screensavers called that in the repo.
Yeah.
So you install it, then you go to Settings, and I didn't touch any of this because it looks like there's a lot of stuff you have to deal with. I'm not going to deal with any of that stuff. What you do is you go to Video Selection, and then Set Download Preset Video. And there are all kinds of really cool videos you can download. It doesn't have to be Christmas themed. You could download like The Matrix or retro sci-fi, or look at all these cool snow ones.
Oh,
you know
yeah, he's got a bunch of them.
One of those too, because that looks cool.
If you load up the add-on screensaver page on the wiki, if you just like search Kodi Video Screensaver, it'll pop up. He's got previews for all of them listed on a little graphical previews.
Like he's got GIFs?
Yeah, well, no, there's just little still images.
Oh, okay.
But he's got like 4 fireplaces, a couple of snows, a Christmas one, and it's kind of the old the cornball dad or the cornball uncle thing to do is to turn on the fireplace video.
Yep.
Well, this is a screensaver, so it'll come on whenever you're not using Kodi. It'll just turn on that fireplace or that cool one you had was like a whole living room. With the tree and everything.
This is taking too long. I'm going to cancel it. Oh, I shouldn't have canceled it. One of the things Kodi is really bad at is canceling. Have you ever noticed that?
It's like working to cancel. Canceling.
We will cancel after you have completed your download.
Yes.
And then we will delete it because you told us to cancel. Dang it.
But and on top of the presets, you can also point the video screensaver to any other video that you have. So you can download your own or record your own fireplace video or whatever. The only thing we don't have, we technically have it in version 15 because it's you can hack the karaoke settings to do this. But karaoke is going away in version 16 because it's a hacky mess and it needs to be redone.
Yeah.
Is showing a video and playing music at the same time. That's the only thing you really can't do. You can kind of do it, but it's a pain in the ass to do it, and that's only if you mess with the karaoke stuff. So hopefully, in the future we'll have both. So where you can have your that's pretty.
That is pretty. So
you could have your snow thing and also play some Christmas music or Hanukkah music. Is there Hanukkah music? Maybe. Hanukkah.
Dreidel.
Yeah, there you go.
That was, I didn't realize you could do that with karaoke. That was one of the things I deeply wish we had the ability to do. And I'm pretty sure we've talked about this before. I really want to be able to play a movie while simultaneously playing the audio from riff tracks.
Yes. And in addition to riff tracks, I've also Red Letter Media, who does like the Blanket reviews. They've been releasing commentary tracks, and it's the same idea. It's an isolated audio file that you press play at the same time as the movie, same as riff tracks.
Yeah,
And
so that would be great. And
this is like a growing trend. It's like more and more people are doing this. This is awesome.
And it's so cool. It's for those of you who aren't familiar with riff tracks, if you've ever heard of Mystery Science Theater 3000, it's the same thing. What those
same
guys did was
like literally same thing. Like it's those voices.
Yeah, those guys after Mystery Science Theater went away, they created a new company called Riff Tracks, and all they did was record the audio to go along with the movie. And then in the movie, what they do is near the beginning of the movie, they have a little robot sound that corresponds with the start of the movie in some way. Like they say the same words as said in the movie, and that's how you sync up. And then the two audios play at the same time, and it's very funny.
Yeah, it's a way for them to get around the copyright restrictions, because before they could only do really old movies like B movies, and now they can do modern movies. Things that have. Yeah. My first introduction to them, in fact, was way back 2006 or 7 or 8 or something. It was the first Harry Potter movie. They had done a riff tracks for it, and man, there was more jokes about owl wrangling in that movie than I'd ever heard before. It was funny. So I'd love to have that back. Built into Kodi, yeah.
And that's what I'm so excited for this new video player stuff that they're working on. Because in theory, it lets you have two players going at the same time because they're independent of each other. And if that's the case, then there's no reason why, the thing everyone always talks about is picture-in-picture now is theoretically going to be possible. But I much more care about having
the riff tracks and the commentary tracks, Yep.
Man, I lost track completely of where we were going. So here's a cool snow screensaver, but let's see. The one we were showing off originally, reuse this file. Yep, preview. There it is. Christmas. Wow. It even has a nice fire crackling sound.
Yeah, that's nice.
Oh, I feel warmer.
You can feel
already.
The warmth.
It feels so good. I don't need this blanket I'm wearing. Oh wait, I'm not wearing a blanket. It's pretty cool. I could really just watch that forever. We actually did that. Do you know that? For Thanksgiving we'd finished eating, and I put on a YouTube video that was one of these fireplace things with Christmas music playing.
I just watched.
It was pretty dumb.
It's memorizing though. If you kind of forget you're watching the video and you're just kind of looking at it and you're like, oh, what time is it?
Yep. It kind of. Oops. Oh yeah, because it's a trailer. I can't move my mouse. So I think that's probably all we have for this week, unless you can think of anything else.
No, not particularly.
One thing I think would be fun to talk about is Christmas gifts, like good recommendations for Kodi Christmas gifts, which probably would be pretty short. But we're at 50 minutes now, and I don't think it's really. I think we can put that off for one more week. Next week, let's say next week will be our great Christmas roundup, where we suggest all the great Christmas gifts you can give. And the answer, by the way, is the Nexus player. No.
It was for Black Friday. It was the NVIDIA Shield. It was like $100 off.
That's true. That NVIDIA Shield, if you look at the install base of the NVIDIA Shield over like the past month, it went like whoop. Yeah, that $100 off did a lot. They cracked into the top 10 actually of Android devices using Kodi, which is pretty impressive for a month or two.
Yeah.
So next week, everybody watching the stream or watching after we're done recording, we'll be talking about Christmas presents next week, and whatever else we can think of.
Yeah.
So I guess that's it. Thanks for chatting, Ned.
Oh, and if you have Twitch, we're going to do Twitch live streaming of me eating popcorn.
Oh, we may do that.
Yes,
We
for like
might not.
5 hours.
Did you see? Speaking of these cool fireplace things, did you see the guy from Parks and Rec has one of just him sitting drinking, I think whiskey, in front of the fireplace, just staring
Adam
at
Scott?
the screen.
Yeah, I think so. The Adam Scott, right?
No, oh, is it Adam Scott? I don't think so. It's the mustache guy who loves breakfast.
The character's Ron Swanson. Yeah,
Yeah,
Nick Offerman.
Nick Offerman, yeah. It's just a video of Nick Offerman staring at the screen by a fireplace, drinking his alcohol.
Well, that's my new screensaver now.
Yeah.
I'm going to download that after we're done, and that's going to be my Kodi screensaver.
Oh, so that's it. Yeah, that's the one thing that add-on is missing. It's too bad you can't point it to specific
You can.
YouTube videos.
Oh, straight from YouTube? Oh, yeah. Yeah, like, I bet you, I probably, I don't know, get him and Bromix? Is Bromix the one that does? Yeah, he does YouTube now.
Yep.
I bet you they could figure out some kind of hookup to that. That'd be
That's
awesome.
probably true. Maybe it might be something to talk about in the forum.
Oh.
Well, anyway, I guess that's it. So thanks for chatting, Ned, and thanks for everybody for watching. And I guess we'll see you next week. Same great time, same great hour.
Bye.